Do you like creepy magic tricks? Then you're in the right place because I have an interesting one for you. So this is Svengali. Now this is largely based on a Derren Brown trick. So if you don't know the magician Derren Brown, go look up Derren Brown Svengali. He's got an amazing thing. But this is basically a way to allow you to trick your friends. Now, if you want to see how it's going to happen, you're going to have to stick around a little bit longer because we're going to start off as though you were one of my friends and I'm telling you to ask me a question. So let's say you come up and you're like, okay, what do you want to ask Svengali? And you say, well, tell me what my favorite color is, right? And so I type in, Svengali. What is their favorite? Whoa, I can type favorite color. And lo and behold, Svengali types it out, right? So we clear it out and we say, okay, well, that was I don't know, he could have just guessed, right? So let's do like a math problem. What's 3 times 3? All right. So we type Svengali. What is 3 times 3? And he answers 9. So he can answer any question you want. But then if I turn over the keyboard to you and you're like, well, I'm just going to ask him gobbledygook, right? I'm just going to type in stuff like that and hit enter and see what happens. Oh, wow. I broke it. Sorry. I must have typed wrong. All right. So you type in gobbledygook and you hit enter. And Svengali always has an answer. Or if you type in, who are you? All right, so the point is that he has things that he will say to people that don't know how the trick works, but for the trick to work, the typer has to know what's going on. So, but before we get to that, let's get to one more thing. So if you ask him enough things, like even if you don't put something in, you just ask, he'll answer, right? He'll say things over and over again, but eventually you'll notice a theme. One of the things that he'll start to say is that he wants you to say his name 3 times. So if you do that, if I type in Svengali, and even if there's, something separating it, right? If I type in, other word, and then Svengali again, so I have to finish for him to get him to finish typing what he's currently working on. All right, now that he's done, though, I can ask him, I can say his name 3 times, as he will eventually prompt you to do. And now he changes slightly. And now, anytime I ask him anything, even empty ones, instead of him answering, the questions like he did before or using the remarks he did before, everything is slightly different. The thing that he is talking about take on a slightly darker tone. Your vessel is adequate. Let's try another one. I hope we survive the exchange. So he'll say interesting things. Again, this is a very, kind of a dark trick that you can play. But let's fast forward, because again, you're not looking at this to be tricked by me. You're looking at this to trick your friends. Because again, this is basically the classic confidence man trick, right? So Svengali is effectively your magician's accomplice. He's the confidence man, and he knows what you want to say, even though the other person doesn't. So when I type things, you'll see that it types whatever I type, right? That's just me typing. But if I type in the special key, which is the semicolon, it types an S. And now when I type, look, it typed in a whole sentence for me, even though that's not what I actually typed. So let's backspace. So I'm going to type in semicolon, and I'm going to type in apple. But to everyone else that's looking at the screen, it looks like I just typed Svenga. Now I'm going to hit semicolon again and hit Svengali, and then I'll just change it to make whatever makes sense, right? Like name a fruit. Because I know that I've already seeded him with apple because I typed semicolon, apple as semicolon. And as long as you start your sentence with semicolon, something you want to say semicolon, you're telling Svengali what to say. So if I hit enter now, oh, except for, I forgot. I have to reload because I already said his name 3 times. He gets very obsessive. Once you've said his name 3 times, he will not go out of it. You can't do anything else. You have to reload. So let's try this again. Semicolon, apple, semicolon, but it looks like I typed something else. Now I'll finish it and I'll say name a fruit. And hit enter. And now he says apple, because that's what I actually typed. Now it does mean you have to be careful that you type things clearly, right? Because if you typo, he will typo, right? So if someone says, what's my name? And so for example, me, I'm going to say, what's my name? I'm going to type semicolon, cynic, space, placebo, semicolon. And now anything I type is going to be me because I've hit the final semicolon, right? So if I type in junk, you're going to see the junk. So we want to finish it in a way that makes sense. So I'm going to hit Ali to finish the Svengali. What is my name? And then he will type in cynic, placebo. So it does different things at the beginning, but it always starts out with Svengali, Svengali, and then it will add, a few other prefixes just so that you can type a little bit longer answers. Because if you need to type a longer answer, it needs to look like it's still typing on the screen. So let's type a really long answer. I'm going to type supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, okay? So supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But you'll see that on the screen it did Svengali, Svengali, canst thou answer. And now I've got to finish it because I've hit semicolon. So I can finish it by saying answer. What does Mary Poppins say? Something like that, right? And now he'll type out supercalifragilisticexpialidocious because that's what I typed. Now, I might have typoed, we're going to see, but it still serves as that interesting magic trick, because the people watching are just going to be baffled. They're like, well, when is it going to happen? How would they have indicated? Because they're watching you type, but they're watching the screen. And when they watch the screen, everything you type looks like you're typing what it says there. It looks like you typed Svengali, Svengali, canst thou answer? And so Svengali serves as both the confidence man and the distraction. And his clockwork mechanism and the fact that it's on a computer leads people down the wrong path, and they'll start to think, oh, wait, maybe it's the microphones are listening, or maybe they've got their phone connected to it with a WebSocket and they're typing in the answer in their pocket, or maybe they have a confidence man in the room and he's typing something else, or, they'll lead them down false paths. But it'll allow you to type in these things that you know about them. Now, let's say they ask a question that you don't know, right? Like, let's say they say, what number am I thinking of? Instead of answering clearly because you don't know the answer, you could type in something menacing just like Svengali does. You can be like, don't patronize me. What number am I thinking of? But I type don't patronize me at the beginning, right? And so now he'll type in the menacing answer, right? And then that way, that's already kind of built in too, because anytime you don't play nice with him, anytime you don't put a semicolon in there, he'll answer with something, mean. And so if you turn it over to them, they're like, well, I want to type. I think that you're doing something weird. Let me type, right? And so then they type, how old am I? But they didn't do it right. There's no semicolon. So again, Svengali's just going to go back to his default list of several things to respond in retort. Sometimes it's going to, just be menacing. Sometimes it's going to be rude. Sometimes it's going to say he wants to talk to the other person, right? Things like that all tie into this confidence man trick. So this is just a fun little thing I did. I have put it on my website. It's at localmess.com/fun. This is where I just keep a few different tricks and games and silly little things I'm adding to it as I'm slowly building out Local Mess and adding some games to it so that people can have it. And so if you click on Svengali the Clairvoyant doll, it'll bring you into this, and you can play this game with your friends. So this is live right now. Again, I would say that this is a beta. Don't expect it not to break. It's always possible it's broken. If something happens and it breaks, go ahead. You could look at the developer console if you're familiar with how to do that. Hit Control-Shift-I, and that shows you some of the output in this console. And if there's an error, like if it tries to do something that JavaScript can't do, or if it tries to access something that's not there, or I've made a mistake somewhere, it'll spit out an error here. And if you can copy that message and send it to me down here at the below in YouTube, I'll get on it. I'll fix it. But so this is just a beta, but go ahead and spook your friends. And also, if they want to type on their own, let them, because he will get plenty spooky. And if they want to be brave and type in Svengali's name 3 times, let them do that too, because that'll change things drastically. So I'm going to leave you with one more of those. Svengali, Svengali, Svengali. Because when you type his name 3 times, after that, he won't answer any questions ever. He will only continue to kind of be menacing. So let's see what he has to say. He says, have a fortuitous final day. And again, you can, now anything you ask, he'll answer with something ominous. Like, wait till 3 o'clock. What's going to happen at 3? Or sometimes he'll talk about the witching hour. And you'll also notice that now that you've said his name 3 times, he always ends with his hand open with the same symbol that's on the board. And he'll talk about the exchange a lot. So if you want to learn more about the lore of Svengali, go ahead and type in his name 3 times and see what he's got to say. All right, as always, I've been Cynic Placebo. I hope this is an interesting one to you. Go and freak out your friends with this creepy little doll. I'm not an artist. I'm not claiming this is perfect. If somebody wants to redo some of this artwork, I'm all for it. The only caveat I will say is that it does need to be an SVG format, simply so that the file itself is quite small. So all of this stuff altogether is only like 200 kilobytes. All my images, everything, the code, everything is like less than 200 kilobytes. And again, I don't have an amazing server, so I don't want to have to serve up copiously large things. So if you want to do some art and you want to turn it into an SVG, hey, I will happily swap out my Svengali for a better one. All right, have a great day. Or a creepy one, at least until 3 o'clock. Cheers.